Do you like to ride camels? Yeah. Do you like? Just let them know if you don't want. Okay. So, let's start with the name. Why it was called Treasury. The name was actually given by the locals because they thought this was built by one of the Egyptian kings for some reason. And they also believed that the masterpiece of all of those treasures, or let's say the coins or whatever was valuable back then, was all hidden in that urn at the top.
So it was like a bank.
That's what they thought, but let me finish here. It will all make sense in a minute.
Okay.
They thought that this was the thing. So to break that urn, what they have done, they shot at it with guns. And you can see the bullet holes in that statue in the middle and at the urn itself. So all of these little holes that you're seeing, these are bullet holes. That's where the name Treasury came from, which is not true. This is just a mythology. Like the local legend, whatever you want to call it, but it's not the reality of this place. And until this day, we're not even 100% sure what it is. We have so much theories. I'll explain to you maybe 2 or 3. They're the ones that makes more sense than the other ones.
Nothing related with aliens.
Well, could be. No. Yeah. So it's 39 meters long, 28 meters wide. That makes it the 3rd biggest one in the city. It's not even the biggest one. But this is by far the most decorated, detailed, well-preserved one in the city.
Oh, okay.
Because of the way it looks and the location. Now, why it was done, as I told you, we're not really sure, but here's few things that might tell us something with decorations. Now, starting from the top, the urn at the top.
Yes.
Whenever you see the urn at the top of any of the monuments of the city, that means it's a royal monument, because in the Nabatean culture, urn always represents royalty.
Royalty, okay.
So that's our first indication. Then, on each side of the broken pediment, on the corners, you can see there's 2 eagles, or remains of eagles.
Yes.
The eagles have always represented the king. That means that it's definitely have something to. It's another royal indication.
Yes.
That's what that means, of course. Then you got the figures underneath, which were all goddesses. The one in the middle with the bullet holes is Isis, the Egyptian goddess. On the sides, you've got the Amazonians, the Amazon ex-warriors. The 2 to the inside are Aphrodite. So all of them are goddesses, which means that it's definitely have something to do with females from the royal family. So it wasn't just for the king. So this is the significance of having goddesses but not gods. Now, the lower part, this is where things get really interesting. Right in the middle of the lower triangle, or the pediment, it's not clear. There's 2 theories about it. One of them suggested this is the cornucopia, which is the horn of prosperity, basically. Or the other one, which is, for me at least, it makes more sense, which is a picture or a portrait of an eagle that always represented, which is again a royal indication. But it's in such a bad shape, we don't even know what it is, honestly. Just underneath that, in that frieze, the lower frieze, you can see there's some vines and there's some grails. One of the burying rituals that the Nabateans did back then was the wine drinking ritual. They have to drink wine in golden grails. So this is a death indication. This is where the first theory about the space came, which suggested that this is a royal tomb. Alright? So that's the first one. We're not done yet.
Okay.
At the bottom, you got these 2 statues. These are the sons of Zeus, the Greek god. Castor and Pollux. You can see them riding horses.
Yes.
Yeah. Usually they put Castor and Pollux at the entrance as a curse if anybody wanted to get into these sacred places. Now, since we know for the fact that this is a very sacred place, one of the theories that it's a tomb. Okay, so that's also the other thing that kind of tells us that it's a tomb. Here's what also made this theory makes complete sense. The fact that the king who did this, Aretas, his name is Aretas IV. By the way, this was carved during we're talking about the time of Christ, between 9 BC and 40 AD. That's when this king. So maybe it was exactly was finished when Jesus was around. So that's how old is this one here. Now back to this. So yeah, it's not just as I told you where the theory that it's a tomb came from, or let's say how it made complete sense at some point when we learned that this king Aretas was actually married from two queens. First one, her name was Shaqila, and after her death he married another one, her name was Khildo. Inside of this building, or inside of this chamber, sorry, we found 3 chambers, one in the middle, 2 on the sides. So the theory suggests that the king was buried in the middle and both of the queens were on the sides. So that's how it made complete sense.
Yes.
But here's why it doesn't make sense. Theoretically, or on paper, if you read it, yeah, it makes complete sense. Watch out, please. The reason why it doesn't make sense because of the size of those chambers. Now, even the other royal tombs, the kings or even the royals, and when they used to get buried, they had a regular sized tombs. So they looked like little holes into the walls or shelves in some cases. They would just lay the bodies in there, covered with a big piece of rock, and they would seal it. Right? That wasn't the case here. Look at this. There's no way this is a burial. This is a full-size room. You can live in it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there is no evidence at any point of the time these were covered or sealed. They were open the whole time. So there's no way this is a temple. A tomb. It doesn't make sense. So the other theory or the explanation of these death indications that we have here, which might be not to begin with, might be meant something else. It could be like a memorial or a mausoleum, or it could be a temple for the royals, because lots of the royals back then declared themselves as gods, and people used to worship them. So that's also another possible theory. Yeah, but it's just filled with theories. Honestly, we're not 100% sure about anything that I just told you.
I have a question. They're still doing some
Excavations? Not really. It's
Once became
because it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site and it's also one of the new 7 wonders. So, which means this place is under the rule of the UNESCO. It's a Jordan territory, but the rules and the regulation, they're all regulated by the UNESCO.
by them, yes.
They were the ones that not really given us any
Permissions. Yes.
Because here's the real reason. Now, their explanation
Political.
it's one of the excuses that's going to get this place visual pollution. The process can be destructive for the ruins underneath. None of that makes sense. You know why? It's a way to put more pressure on the government to do something about this current situation here. That's why nothing is happening, and nothing is gonna happen until everything here
Everything
changes.
is settled. Yes.
That's the
I
real
am
reason
from
why.
Peru, and we have Machu Picchu.
Oh, that's cool.
That's
it's
why I
my
was-
bucket list. I want to go there someday. Yeah.
Wonderful. So, but what I noticed is, I told Gabriel that this long time ago, like, because it's protected and it is a private who manage all the income
Yes.
for the Machu Picchu.
Yes.
The only for the people, for Peruvians, that's the prices has to be the lowest of the lowest.
Yeah, same-
If y that's what I was telling me. Look the prices. So why do they give for a resident?
Exactly.
In-
Resident or that's what it is. Kids under 12, free. It's not just they, like everyone.
Yeah, I saw the sign. I was like, okay, this is interesting. Like they do, some time events and work for the community.
Yeah, of course. And also what you just paid, the tickets, it doesn't all go for the government. The government gets a small portion
Yes,
of
that's
that
what
money.
I'm saying. They take all the money.
Yeah. No. Actually, they give back to the community, to be fair. Listen, I'm a rebellious and I hate the governments in general, but to be fair, most of the money goes for the local communities and some associations that have something to do with the local community, which is good to me.
Yeah.
So it's not all
Yeah.
goes for the bad.
No.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
do you remember the ones that I showed you?
Yes.
Here's where things get really interesting. As I told you, these were only found almost 20 years ago
Yeah.
because they just wanted to know more. it was the perfect opportunity back then because if you remember 2003, what happened? That's when the United States invaded Iraq.
Yes.
We had zero tourism here, even though it was completely safe here, but people were just paranoid, basically.
Until now, people were like, "Be careful."
Yeah, they don't know Jordan is one of the safest staying countries in the world.
We were telling them
stupid.
now, and it was like we feel safe
It's-
all the way. I mean,
Exactly.
we took in Amma, we took Uber at night, and we were just
Walk around at night.
walking around.
We
and
can
were
like
fine.
go for a walk at 3 a.m. in the morning. No
Yeah.
one will bother you. That's how safe it
I
is.
felt safe because I saw women at night walking on the darker streets. I was like,
No one
okay, if a
would bother
woman
them.
with children are walking, I'm gonna be fine. Yes.
It's very safe. Crime
Yes.
rates, everything is
Yes.
super controlled. Yeah. So yeah, that's why they did because almost no one was here. So
Okay.
they excavated there and they found these 3 tombs. Now, they found a total of 11 people who were buried inside of these tombs, both males and females, but without any piece of information who are these people who
Like you
were
say, for
inside.
tombs, it's always a smaller sizes.
We're gonna see them down there. I'll show you the
Okay.
differences. Now, not necessarily. I'm not saying that. Yeah, there is difference in the facades.
Yeah.
But the thing in common is the burials, the interior of these
Interior,
tombs that
I
can be
see.
different. Yeah. So, as I told you, 11 people got buried.
Yes.
Now, most of those people, as I told you, all of the tombs in the city were family tombs, which means it's either one generation or multiple generations, but they're all from the same family. So that's how you can tell the difference between people based on how many people you can find inside. You can find 2, sometimes up to 25 people were buried inside of one of these tombs.
And that will be their family, their slaves, everybody.
You almost got ran over.
You should tell me, hey, watch out, camel on your way.
Oh, that's right.
Rakt över. ايوه تمام لا انا لسه بالفتره تحت خلص خلص يعني نلتقي بس Yeah, I think now you have to go to the 8:15. So here's what I'm gonna the best plan. I mean, it's
Yes.
suggested, but it's
Yes,
trust me, it's the best plan for you.
we trust you.
First thing you should see is the monastery
Okay.
because it's the furthest point in the city, and maybe on the way back, I will show you other trails.
Okay.
Not as hard, because you'll be exhausted after that. So you can, if you think you still have the time and the energy, you can also check it on the way.
Yeah.
But make the monastery as your priority for now.
Yes.
because It's the furthest point.
Yes.
So yeah.
And it's earlier and it's not that hot.
Yeah. So that's, I think, your best plan now.
And we have the little cars, golf cars
Exactly.
to
You
take us
got the
back.
tickets, right?
Yes.
You still have them. Okay, good.
I should still have them. There?
Lose them.
The lose. They won't trust our word.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a park ranger. What is actually the job of the park ranger?
Rangers? Nothing.
Nothing.
I mean, they should be not allowing all of this, but
That was my next question.
Yes.
If you need to get a permit to be here.
You need, but no one gets it. Because if you ask for permit, no one will give you because that's illegal.
Ah.
Yeah, but because no one can control them there. Yeah, unfortunately, that's the reality of this place.
It is.
with this step. Now, this part of the city here is called the Street of Facades, which is a fancy name of a for a cemetery, basically. That's what it is. These are all tombs. Watch out. So, you will notice something about this, those places. Those tombs here, which is
the entrance are little.
No, look at the top of these tombs. Almost all of them have the same exact decoration, the steps. See it?
Yes.
Now, this is an Assyrian of influence from Babylon. And the reason why it's at the top, because they link those with the afterlife. Here's what I mean by that. Now, in their culture, these are not tombs. These are the houses for the afterlife. That's when they're gonna live for eternity. That's the main purpose of the tombs. That's why they carved their tombs, but they built their houses. The whole idea to make things last forever because of their beliefs.
Yes.
It worked. 2,000 years later, they're still here, as you can see. Now, the interesting thing is the idea or the theory. Now, they believe that when the first life ends, the soul climbs from the right side to get prepared for the afterlife. Then when it's time to live the afterlife again, it will come back from the left. Which means there's this circle motion that always goes at the top of these tombs. That's how we linked it with the afterlife. And you will see it at the top of almost every single tomb of the city. With like differences from here and there. But the main difference is the shape. You can see the one in the middle has smaller multiple ones where you can see the step pyramids themselves.
Yes.
They have the same meaning, but the difference is this is the first generation that they adapted, which dates back to the 3rd century BC. And the big one, like the one over there, they adapted this decoration in the 1st century BC, which means when you see a tomb with this smaller cross step decoration, they're much older than that one. This is how you can tell which one is older than the other one.
I see.
That's the difference here. And keep in mind, that's not where we should be. And this place is not even a tomb, a cemetery as it looks now. No, because where we are now, where we're standing, we should be 8 meters lower. And at the bottom, that was where the market was. So this was, at the same time, was like a downtown.
Wow.
So the road used to be paved and it was just filled with shops on both sides.
Makes
Keep
sense.
that in mind. The stairs decoration, what we call the crow step, is always at the top. So once we go around that corner there, I'm gonna show you where you're gonna see it. The remains of it just up to the right side there.
Yes.
And this is also how we figured out the population, just based on how many people got buried in, seated in there, not buried. All of ancient civilizations have actually learned this from the Greeks because of the democracy. It was like the early stages of parliament and meetings and foreigners. So the idea was they couldn't fit the entire population into one place, so they came out with the concept of fitting 10%, and those 10% are the
representative.
Exactly, just like a parliament. So it can fit about 3,500 people in here, which means the population is about 35,000 people. Yeah. Allergy. At this point, all the way down to the city, everything we're about to see was built. Because it was built, unfortunately, it's all destroyed.